If you're struggling to be productive on this big project and you can't seem to focus, I'm gonna tell you why exactly that is and why some pieces don't exactly fit where you think they should go. Hey, I'm Nick McLaughlin. I'm an executive function coach, giving you strategies to help you unlock unstoppable focus and follow through using fun and simple analogies. What's up, MTV? This is my crib. What I notice people do a lot is they will get two different pieces and they'll try and just make them fit, but they aren't supposed to fit, or maybe they're supposed to fit in a different way than you think, right? The problem is you're either missing a piece or you're putting the wrong pieces together. So you try and jam it in thinking, oh, this is supposed to fit for sure. It can't possibly be me or my systems. So therefore this piece must be broken. Or it can basically look like you're blindfolded trying to put the pieces together. And I have no idea if I'm anywhere remotely close to this puzzle right now. Okay, I'm gonna say I'm 100% in the perfect position right now. So if you notice on the screen, there are 4 different kinds of toys here. Well, 5, I mean, I don't count him, he's just my friend. This one, and this one are the same in one way, whereas this one is different. What's the difference? Well, these don't really require a lot of thought and strategy. They kind of just go where they go. And with tasks that are like that, where you can just kind of do them in any order, it doesn't really matter. You can make it look however you want. You can stack this up here. You can move this guy here. It doesn't really matter. Put this Lego on the bottom. But I mean, there's an order for this, but you don't have to stack it that way. Those kind of tasks are easy where you don't really have any required order. However, when you're struggling with a huge project, that's more like a puzzle. Now there's more thought involved. Now there's more required of you involved. This is not a complicated puzzle, but it's supposed to represent one. Okay, so let's just play along. We're in the right environment for that. So let's just imagine for this example that this is a huge complicated puzzle with like a bunch of pieces. And they're kind of just everywhere all over the place. And that represents this big project you're struggling with right now that made you watch this video of an adult in a giant playroom. And in this big puzzle, you just have a mess of pieces that represent this whole project you have laid out, and it's not even put together at all. There's so many pieces to it. Maybe you're struggling to focus on the project. Maybe you can't get the pieces together correctly. Maybe you don't know the proper order. Trying to make this project work where it doesn't seem to be working, or you procrastinate because you're just getting frustrated and burnt out, overworking yourself. Maybe there's so many pieces, it's just overwhelming and you don't know what to even do with it all. You don't have all the right resources. It's just a lot. And so of course you're gonna want to procrastinate, and you know what? I don't blame you, because that's honestly what I used to do too. So the reason this happens is because we usually just jump straight into trying to solve the puzzle, right? Of this big project that you're trying to put together. And there's a whole bunch of pieces to you as well. Like, I have my strengths and weaknesses. I know I get tired when I have too much time spent on emails. I need more time in the day, or maybe I'm not organized enough to be able to piece this paperwork together. It could literally be anything, and you probably already know what that is in your head right now. And so it becomes really difficult to focus on what we're trying to accomplish. So let's say you have multiple pieces to a project you're trying to piece together, but try and put them together in a way that fits the way we think. We try and make it fit, because sometimes that's our mentality is, oh, this is what I've got, or this is what I think will work, therefore it has to work. And you try and piece your project together, but it doesn't really make the picture that you're trying to create. So the reason this happens a lot is because, one, we are not being really clear on, are these pieces the proper pieces to be putting together? Maybe I have the wrong pieces. Maybe there are other aspects of this project I'm putting together that I'm missing. Maybe these aren't the correct things that I should be doing. And we don't even question that there are a lot of other pieces that could potentially be on the table if we just think to question first. Is there anything else I'm missing? I notice a lot of times people will treat their projects like Legos and think, oh, anything can go anywhere. It doesn't matter. That's not exactly the same, because any piece can fit any piece. Whereas a big project is more like handling a big puzzle, because it's a lot more complicated. If it was this easy, you wouldn't be struggling. So you can tell what kind of tasks are actually easy to do, because it'll be more like building Legos or blocks, as opposed to a puzzle that's complicated, has a bunch of pieces, not like this one. So we know that these kind of projects don't really require much thought, so therefore they don't need much strategy. You can, but it won't really make a whole lot of difference. You can be organized or not. These kind of represent tasks somewhat like, I don't know, brushing your teeth before taking a shower or showering before brushing your teeth. Who cares, right? Doesn't really matter. Taking your dog for a walk or eating breakfast first. These are tasks you have to do on the daily that the order doesn't matter too much. I'd say a puzzle that's this easy is kind of like doing laundry, where there is a way to do it easier, but there's a very particular way of doing things. But a big project like for work, or for maybe it's your anniversary and you're planning some big romantic thing, that's going to be a huge puzzle. And the more pieces there are to it, the more complicated it's going to be. So whenever you handle a puzzle, you're going to need strategy, clarity, and a strong intention. And some pieces may look like, oh, but I think that green should always go after blue or red should always go first, but that's just your preference. But when it comes down to a puzzle, every piece matters. Every single move you make matters, and the time you spend on it doesn't really matter for if you're just solving it yourself, but when it's a team effort, it does matter. And you know what? That's completely understandable, and there's nothing wrong with you because anyone would struggle with that. I would feel so much pressure thinking there's so much on the line and I'm not the only part of this. Like I have to do this for someone else or with someone else, and they're depending on me. So how do we solve this puzzle? The one most important step that really, really helped my clients, that we would get intentional first, get clarity, and then we would kind of strategize how we're going to do this in a way that's easy, that works for us, that works for the project overall. So approaching things more strategically is always going to be easier than approaching things by just jumping into them or just thinking you have the tools. So what it looks like for a project is maybe first laying out all the pieces of the puzzle or all of the aspects of what you're doing, all the tools, the resources, whatever you think you're gonna need. What my wife and I like to do when we play puzzles is we start with the corner pieces. Why is that? Because the corner pieces give you something really special. I like to call the corner pieces support pieces because they give you support and basically hint to you a little bit of what is required in order to solve the next issue that's going to come up. And it's so much easier to do that than to start here and have nothing to work with. You have no idea what's going to go over here, but you know somewhat what's over here and you've kind of solved the end here. So instead of 4 problems you have to solve for this guy, you only have 2, and it hints to the next one. So you need to look for what that looks like in your project. So maybe reverse engineer. Maybe basically go to the very end of what your project looks like, get really clear, and say, I want it to look like this, but I guess what I need to get there is first I need this and this. Great. Now keep reverse engineering, saying, well, in order to get this and this, I need this. And you just keep doing that until you get to the very beginning. And that can represent a whole lot of different things for the puzzle you're solving for maybe yourself, where maybe the problem is you struggle with energy while you work on projects like this. That's your own personal puzzle. And you say, okay, well, I need coffee, but in order to get coffee, I need to go to the store first. In order to go to the store first, I need to make a list first. So I'm kind of reverse engineering before just jumping in, try and get coffee and search my whole house for coffee when I can't find it. But that's just one example of many. Then there's the project puzzle itself. So the project puzzle is going to require a whole lot of different pieces. Maybe you have to answer 3 different emails to people before you can get the right answer on what action to take. So maybe that's the first thing to do. But reverse engineering is basically the most helpful thing to do when trying to solve a puzzle. Find those support pieces that help you hint what's going to be needed next, but from the very end instead of starting from the beginning. So when you start from the beginning, you're starting from here. You got nothing to work with. You're just kind of throwing out random pieces and saying, I don't know, I'll just start with this one. But maybe this one is in the middle. And now you're trying to work from there and you're missing pieces that are going to help this piece. So start from the end, reverse engineer to the beginning. That way you can always have the right pieces to support you for whatever you're trying to accomplish. I swear I just grabbed these randomly. It literally fits perfectly. So how do you put it together? So the first step is you want to get really intentional, lay everything out really clearly, right? Then the next step you want to do is kind of strategize the action, not jumping into the action yet, but you want to strategize what are my support pieces that are going to support me through this or support this project I'm working on. That could mean, for example, knowing yourself and saying, I know I tend to get distracted when I work on this thing in this office, or at this hour of the day, I kind of lose energy, or maybe this project requires some funding first, or maybe I need more time for this thing. You have to figure those out first and lay them out on the table before piecing them together. And if you want to know more tactics to help you with this big project you're working on, click the link in the description below if you need support with your executive functioning. Like and subscribe, and I'd love to hear in the comments below what video you would want to see next. Later, neighbors.